In opening scene we see our protagonist talking about trash games. Such games are often not fun or balance between the characters is broken or a game whose operation is shit. However, there is another case. Just if you have an hellish difficulty. Virtual reality game, The Tower of Trials was exactly that. When the game was released, Korean gamers whose hobby was to conquer the game before even the developers expected them to, started grinding the Tower of Trials game. Without eating and sleeping for 365 days a year. However, by the time 3 years have passed, people realize the fact is that this game is impossible to clear. Not exaggerating really. For example, the gate guardian who protects the 10th floor is invincible. Besides, the 7th floor is a polar region with a temperature of -60 degrees, draining the HP of players and freezing the player to death in an hour. On the 8th floor, a labyrinth of more than 10,000 kilometers square area awaits. These all is not fun but torture. Because of that, the game crashed and almost got ruined. But still, there were very few pro gamers who challenged this damn hell difficulty. And our protagonist Jin-hyuk Kang was one of them who grinded the game till very end. After devoting his 11 years of his our protagonist finally completes the game. And system message pop-ups which says, "You have conquered the 50th floor. Congratulations. You are the first person to have cleared the Tower of Trials." Jin-hyuk let out a sigh of relief filled with all kinds of emotions. It was just fun for him. Researching unknown ways to conquer the tower, and repeating those ways again and again until it becomes the second nature to finally beat the game. Thinking about all these, a proud feeling of having done something difficult and worthwhile came to our hero. He still can't believe he really cleared this game. After his thoughts settle, our hero thinks he should have streamed online this moment, or maybe he could upload this accomplishment to YouTube. A system window pops up thanking player for playing this game till now. Another window pop-ups informing player that reboot update is planned in 12 hours, so please continue to enjoy the game after the update. This news surprises our hero. He wonders even after going in losses the game is gonna get update. Did the administrators found some oil fields in middle of desert? After logging out of game, protagonist thought that he had to quit his career as a gamer and a live streamer. When he started he was just 17 years old, but now at 27 he can't live on the small amount of income he earns as a gamer and live streamer. At night, our protagonist was doing mukbang live streaming and having fun with his viewers. Suddenly his expressions got serious. He called out his viewers and said he has something important to announce. After looking at the comment of the viewers, he stopped mid-sentence and shrugged off the topic. And he thought he will post an announcement tomorrow about him quitting. After finishing live stream, protagonist went for some good sleep. He woke up with a headache and thought of uploading his Tower of Trials video, where is cleared 50th floor. He got shocked by reading headline that the Tower of Trials actually became reality. Our protagonist wondered how is this possible. He opened live chat of the broadcast. On the screen, a huge tower was visible in the middle of Seoul. The VTuber reported that Melon Watermelon have confirmed this tower to be the Tower of Trials. The VTuber then lifted his head as if he felt something. Just then the screen in the video started to turn red. Jin-hyuk can't believe what he was seeing. He still remembers this scene, the omen that appeared when he first played Tower of Trials. The status window opened in front of everyone including Jin-hyuk. The status window said, Tower of Trials. Reboot version, first update has been completed. Everyone please clear the next floor of the tower within 90 days, if you fail humanity will perish. Just like that the game became reality. Jin-hyuk was confused but he quickly made up his mind. If the Tower of Trials has become new reality, then he should not waste time hesitating, he must hurry. Jin-hyuk got up from his chair, the chair rattled and fell. The chapter starts with system message saying that Tower of Trials reboot version have been updated. The protagonist clears his breath and reminds himself to keep himself calm. And if the Tower of Trials has become a reality, he can't waste time like this. In his mind he knew a place where he could get a particular item, so he needs to hurry. Jin-hyuk came out of the front door and sprinted straight down the road. He was out of breath as he crossed the road and climbed down the stairs. In this new reality the world might end, but despite that, Jin-hyuk's heart was pounding out of excitement. Then the scene shifts to City Central. Here the crowd of people are already panicking. People are running here and there in chaos. Someone is trying to book a fastest train to Busan. Another guy shouts that fleeing to Busan is not enough, we have to get out of Korea. Another person shows a live feed of foreign country where Tower of Trials have appeared. The fact is Tower has appeared all over the world and no country is safe. So where can we go? No matter what happens as long as it's not in Seoul. In midst of this chaos, we can see Jinhyuk running towards an central underground mall. Standing in front of underground mall staircase, our protagonist thinks that most of people trying to escape from Seoul because they are anxious, as a natural instinct of all living things to fear the unknown. However, in crisis there is opportunity. Now is not the time to run, but the time to move forward. While going down the escalator, protagonist recalls that in the Korean server, this area outside the tower was chosen as external zone in the whole country. There are about 30 such areas. The reason he chose this place among them was because it was the closest. In Underground Mall, system message appears informing the protagonist that he is now entering an event zone. Jinhyuk narrowed his eyes by looking at dozens of people present round the fountain. He knew just by looking that these people here are the ones who played the beginning of the Tower of Trials. Everyone present were glaring at each other without uttering a word. The situation was tense because the items that will appear here soon are in limited quantities. If we are lucky, we might get 5 at most. Then the scene changes to person calling protagonist from behind, asking if he is Jin Hyuk Kang. It's a voice protagonist have heard before. When Jin Hyuk turned his head, he saw a tall man with his hair dyed yellow. It is Lee Young-soo. Lee Jun-soo confirms that it is Jin Hyuk Kang. Young-soo is surprised that Jin Hyuk is here because protagonist does nothing but play Tower of Trials game all day locked up in a room. Lee Jun-soo approached with a grin. Lee Jun-soo is a Paprika TV partnered streamer with 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, and also he is CEO of the company that once our protagonist belonged to. Jin Hyuk asked what was Jun-soo doing here, as at the usual time of his live streaming. Jun-soo replied with a smile that being here is better than live streaming. Then Jun-soo asked Jin Hyuk Kang on what floor of game he reached in Tower of Trials. Jun-soo further adds we should gather the secret information of Tower of Trials together as a former co-worker. Hearing nonsense as being called a former co-worker infuriated our protagonist. Jin Hyuk still remembers that Lee Jun-soo company was the one that tricked many live streamers into slave contract. The more the streamers did live broadcast, the more money they lost to Lee Jun-soo. If someone tried to protest, their voices were shut down by company's lawyers. Due to this fraud, Jin Hyuk Kang's best friend, which he knew from the beginning, left the streaming industry in tears. Pulling Jin Hyuk's shoulder, Lee Young-soo continues the conversation, saying that he knows our protagonist is good at games. On top of that, he does mukbang videos. Young-soo suggests rewriting the contract to be on better terms with our protagonist. Disgusted with all these, Jin Hyuk in anger hits Young-soo face with his head with such a force that 2 of his teeth breaks and falls on the floor, and blood starts to come from his mouth. And calling Young-soo in anger, Jin Hyuk warns him not to talk so casually as if they are friends. Protagonist felt great by showing Young-soo his place. After dealing that, protagonist turns towards the fountain and recalls that it's time for it to show up. The scene shifts towards fountain where we can see bubbles forming in fountain water. Then suddenly a jet of water get thrown in air. Trees started emerging from the fountain. And in no time a large tree rose in front of everyone. Everyone got excited by the sight of large mangrove tree. Protagonist was happy as everything was happening the same as that happened in Tower of Trials game, and as he remembered, everything felt as if it was a dream. Then system notification appears saying that the mangrove of greed has appeared. Those fruits that were ripe enough to eat had the effect of raising strength, agility, stamina, and mana stats respectively. It is a good item. That is an undeniable fact. The problem is That number of fruits are only 4 while there are a lot of competitors. It is going to be a tough battle. The advantage of being able to raise stats in the early stages was a factor that could never be compromised. Everyone rushed towards tree, shouting that the fruit is mine. Soon, the Central City underground shopping mall was turned into a chaos with people climbing and pushing others away. In anger, Lee Jun-soo threw away napkin with which he was wiping blood, and cursed protagonist for not working together and splitting the fruit. This way they both could have benefited. But the chance have gone and now both of them are not gonna get fruit to eat to increase the stats. Our protagonist orders Lee Young-soo to stop talking as clearly he doesn't know shit, as now is not the time to act and rush to grab fruit. Then the scene shifts to top of the tree, where players are climbing on top of tree to grab the fruit. In doing so they are pushing each other down, in order to reach the fruit before everyone else. Someone already picked the first fruit and ate it right away. Instantly agility increased by 3 points for that player. After all the fruits of tree have been consumed by players, the tree starts shaking. All the players grab on the branches of tree so that they do not lose their footing. Yet the shaking was so violent that all the players start falling from tree. Then the tree starts beating its branches like a whip, and the branch hit so hard that it broke the concrete of the floor. One player trembling remembers that in game once all the fruit have been consumed the situation becomes terribly dangerous. This scenario was so long time ago that he forgot about it. He had died at least 50 times just by staying there. Players who realized the seriousness of the situation later hesitated and withdrew. Everybody must run away now. There is no chance that level 1 player without a weapon could win a fight against this tree. Our protagonist was enjoying this show. Jang-soo Lee staggered and got up from his seat, and started to walk towards the exit. Looking at this, protagonist asked Jang-soo, "If you are gonna give up?" Jang-soo in anger replied, "Obviously, I don't want to die a pathetic death here." Jin-hyuk nonchalantly asked, "Really? That's a pity because the real reward of this event can only be obtained once you eat all the fruits." Jang-soo Lee shocked hearing this and asked our protagonist if what he said was true. Jin-hyuk replied, "If it is fake, then what is the purpose of me being here?" Jang-soo was wondering from beginning about protagonist as to why he was not rushing for fruits. Without knowing much of details, it is safe to assume that this is good opportunity, thought Jang-soo. Then Jang-soo asked protagonist, if whatever he is saying is true, then what is further course of action? Replying, protagonist says, "We have to attack Tree of Greed. If we attack individually, then we will be an easy target of the branches. So we need to charge towards tree from opposite direction at the same time." Jang-soo replied that all we need to do is distract the tree. Jin-hyuk replies, "Exactly," and reminds him not to hesitate a bit. If he does hesitate a bit, then both of them will die for good. Jang-soo assures protagonist and says him not to worry, he had lot of such experience while playing similar games. With resolution, Jin-hyuk shouted to run towards tree and he himself started running towards tree. In an instant the tree branches started stretching towards our protagonist and our protagonist is dodging the incoming attacks of the tree branches. Then Jin-hyuk turns his gaze towards Jang-soo. Jang-soo Lee stood still laughing and mocking our protagonist and exclaimed that protagonist really trusted him with this plan. "Go ahead like an idiot and be bait for me so that I can receive all the rewards." Protagonist was glad that Jang-soo have not changed at all. The protagonist was actually the one toying with Jang-soo. Actual bait here is Jang-soo, as the tree branches always attacks the person who is standing the farthest. Jang-soo was shocked by this revelation, but before he could respond many tree branches have already drew near him. And in an instant many tree branches starts to wrap Jang-soo Lee and quickly disables Jang-soo. Out of desperation, Jang-soo begged protagonist to save his life. Jin-hyuk Kong running towards tree snorted coldly and asked, "Why I will help garbage like him? If Jang-soo has any problem, he should take the issue to the court and ask for his lawyers for help." And tells him to just go to sleep. Mangrove tree branches start engulfing Jang-soo until the very end. Jang-soo was crying and begging for help and that he doesn't want to die like this. After that, branches crushed Jiangsu's whole body with such force that blood starts spraying from the wedges of the branches. Protagonist bids that garbage Jiangsu farewell. Jin Hyuk then targets mangrove tree. Tree starts attacking our protagonist from all directions. Protagonists who have played this event knows every attack pattern of the mangrove tree. First he dodges tree branches from 22 degrees from left, then 35 degrees from right. Tireless rampage of the tree branches continues and Jin Hyuk evades every incoming attack. Then the core of mangrove is revealed. The core looks exactly the same as that in the game. Seeing the events unfold, protagonist is relieved as the events are proceeding as that in the game. Dodging attack from any direction is easy part, but manipulating incoming attacks so that protagonist can reach to the tree core was the difficult part. Then protagonist picks up the broken branch piece, which was lying on the floor, and positions himself in fighting stance and challenges tree to hand over its core. Jin Hyuk explains that the Mangrove of Greed is an event, where one does not gain any experience points. All one can achieve is name of player in Hall of Fame. So it is better to get what I want instead of fighting to death with the tree. The mangrove tree roared loudly. System informed Jin Hyuk that Mangrove of Greed is using skilled vampire vine. Dozens of tree trunks spewed out at once. No matter how hard Jin Hyuk tried, he cannot avoid all of that. So instead of dodging, Jin Hyuk deflecting these trunks is possible. While holding the tree trunk's fragment in hand in reverse, Jin Hyuk starts to close the distance. As the distance got closer, the perceived speed of attack also increased. Here single mistake is not tolerated. He must not be scared. There is no reason to be afraid, because he has repeated this scenario a lot of times in game. Jin Hyuk was able to close in the distance. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Join our community by hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content.